what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Let's be honest, this is the greatest job in the world. Doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality. You can create an amazing life in sales. Today's guest, no stranger to the journey. I'd like you to welcome my friend, Miss Emily Schneider. What's going on?
Hi, Drew. Thanks for having me. So glad to be here.
I'm so grateful to have you. I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy day. I want to jump right in. I want to hear your craziest sales story.
Well, I think it's be more of the success story, right? Of where my clients ended up once we jumped into that. So I had a client who came to me who needed a pitch deck for their startup digital cryptocurrency digital investor group. So super cool, super new, super trendy. They had this beautiful story written. It was in Word. So they had like bolded headlines and then a couple bullets, and then bolded headlines and a couple bullets. So they needed some help, right? And he's like, and they were honest. Those are my favorite kind of people. They're like, we know we don't know what we don't know, but like we don't know what it is. So I was introduced to them. They're a great group of people. And we were able to turn that, long form Word document into a beautiful 17 slide investor deck with an appendix. So it was pretty short. I would say more like 10 slides. And just visualize things, bring data to life, bring experiences. Again, we're talking about a really unique and interesting space. And so it needed some emotional connection so that when they talked to it or when they sent it ahead, whether even though these investors were looking for the end of what I'm investing and what I'm going to get back or what that potential is, there still is a really important visual story. And we all hear stories and see things and connect in different ways. And so when you can really articulate your visuals to align to what you're saying, it allows our brains to put the pieces together. Like our brains are these magical things, right? These organs. And so when we give it the right tools or the right support, it does what we need. So these guys I worked with them. I can't tell you how much hours I saved because I don't think they had much PowerPoint experience. Hence the Word document. But I know that all it took was my clients, total less than 3 hours of time from the time we had our initial discovery call until he got his final deck. It was not a lot of investment in terms of once I took over. And I know I sent the deck to him on a Wednesday, and Thursday afternoon, he let me know that he secured a $300,000 investment. So one presentation later, his ROI was like, I think it's like 60 times what his investment was. So it was like literally a $5,000 project with me. And in one meeting, in less than 24 hours, he had $300,000. So I love that story. It makes me even just sharing it again, just reinforces like the value of creating connections, but making them authentic and true and not putting the weight on you as a presenter, but letting the story unfold with the right support. Like we can't do it all. That's why we have teams. That's why we have apps. That's why we have AI. Like we're in this great time in life where there's so many great ways to build the things we need. We just have to have the right parts. And so I was so honored to be part of his journey. And I'm like super excited. I keep checking in to be like, okay, what's Q4 look like so far? Like he definitely, and again, being like these investors, he definitely is like really into the numbers and success rate. So it's been super fun to follow along with them.
Well, and as of the recording right now, we're shortly after the election, and crypto is going absolutely bananas.
Yeah.
Right now, Bitcoin's like over 90 grand, and all the alts on the different chains are going crazy. So, like, that dude's probably loving life right now. And there's some things I want to pull out of that story because there's a lot of it that I really, really like, and there's some gems that I think we can really dig into that are going to be good. So, I want to start with the idea of visualization. I am a data nerd. Like, I just want to see the numbers. It doesn't have to be pretty. I don't really care, like, if it flew, whatever. Like, does it make sense? Do the numbers line up? Yes or no? Black and white. And also, I know that there have been more than my fair share of occasions where I've looked at something that was an ugly version and a pretty version and went, man, that pretty version really did make it a lot nicer and easier for me to go through and see what I was supposed to see and be able to make a decision. So, like, I have to admit that there is definitely value in that. Making things visually appealing for others is a massive part of breaking through an initial trust barrier. And I
Yeah.
would love your insight on that, because I know that's kind of your specialty. So like, how do you help break that down? And from the listener standpoint, how can they start implementing some small changes in their own process?
Well, so I think it like stems from, right, what drives you and what you get excited about when you say data. Like, it's easy for you to kind of weed out the noise to focus on what's important. Somebody like me, I used to, right? Or like I look at spreadsheets and I get overwhelmed. I don't know where to look. I don't, my brain is like trying to put all these pieces together and I just start swirling. And so from understanding, it starts with understanding who your audience is and what they need to know and why and what you want them to do with it. And then as the expert and the person delivering that information, you have to give it to them in ways that they can digest and make sense and break it down. I like live by these intentions. It started because I realized I designed with them and now I think they just apply to life. But simplicity and consistency, when I can simply show you the right thing or build on it or add to it, I am bringing you along. Just like, I know we were talking about our kids before, but like, just like we teach little kids how to do things step by step. They don't walk the first time they stand up, right? Like, it's this process. And so you have to bring your audience along. You have to guide them through it. And so articulating visuals, but more so highlighting the numbers and the facts or the information that's crucial to what you need them to know so they can make those right decisions or say yes to your sales pitch is so critical. And so having the ability to simplify it, highlight what you need and not overshare. I don't know about you, but I always find, and personally, when I don't feel confident in something, I overtalk, right? You over communicate because you think that's how you show you're credible. But actually, when you can pull back and I think that's the magic. It's like where you got to find the right balance, but confidence actually becomes cool confidence, and that it makes the sales pitches so much easier. So going back to my example from earlier, those guys they had a Word document. It was really simple. They really knew their stuff. So when we just were able to say, instead of saying we grew by 10%, we were able to show the data, but really focus in on that 10% growth or whatever that was. It just sealed the deal.
Mm-hmm. And that's we're going to go into, there's so much gems here, Emily. I'm loving this conversation, by the way. Like, to me, I'm psychologically stimulated right now because this is the stuff where I nerd out. Because when it comes to sales, less is often more. In the sense of, during a sales conversation, you mentioned a lot of people who get nervous will overtalk to overcompensate for the fact that they feel like they're not 100% sure where things are going to go. Mm-hmm. And in a prospect's mind, they're listening to you and going, why does she feel uncertain about the things that she's saying when she's supposed to be the expert? And I think that's always a fine line for people, because we get nervous because it might be the biggest deal of our life or some huge big opportunity that we're in front of. And so we don't want to mess up. However, when you simplify and you take out all the extra, there's less for you to mess up. There's less things for you to say in the wrong way or to mix up in the process. And as we all know, if you make a recipe in the wrong process, it's likely not going to come out the way it's supposed to. So taking some stuff out can actually bring more to the value that you're presenting for people, which is a huge realization I've had in my own business. And Emily, I'm sure you've had to break down for people like, listen, you don't need 76 pages for this. We can do in 7 what you did in 70, I promise you.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that life though? Like, less is more, right? When you have, at least if I've gotten older, right? I used to think I wanted all these things, like just like possessions. And what I found is, like, I actually find so much more gratefulness and satisfaction by having less of things, or the right things that I actually care about. And so I think that it's just, again, it's an intention that applies beyond just a sales pitch. But what I also think is so important is that when you talk about, and I'm going to have to go back because I had the thought and then I just lost it. But when you talk about less is more and we talk about sales pitches, and we talk about, oh man, maybe I can't. Sorry, guys. I had this great,
That's okay. It's going to come back.
It's going to come back. Okay. We were talking about less is more, simplicity. Oh, yes. Okay. So like, again, when you over communicate, it's just the same thing. If I have 7 ideas on a slide, how do I know what's important? How do I prioritize what that key message is? And part of how I work with my clients, and to your point of like, I don't need 70 slides, what I can do in 7 is because what am I really saying? What are these, like, what is the top line? And what do I need them to think, to feel, to do, to remember? And if you give too much information, you don't remember. Like, again, I don't remember all the death by PowerPoints I've had in my life, but I know there's been a lot, but I remember the really powerful presentations. I remember the confidence. I remember the energy of that presenter. I remember those topics. I remember the quote or the way I felt when they said something, but I don't remember every single word. Again, those death by PowerPoints, I could say, yeah, I've been in them, but I've tuned them all out. I don't listen to anything. So I think there's this balance of less is more overall, but then how do you really get your key points across? And if I'm communicating too much, then like, I don't think I know what I'm talking about, or like, it's not the right meeting, or I need to refine what my agenda is. And like, we got to step back, right? It becomes like a little bit, it's a dance. It's a beautiful dance.
It is. And where I want to go with this is the idea of less is more is valuable from a client perspective. You mentioned in your conversation, hey, you know, for them, total investment maybe $5,000 and 3 hours of their time to get a $300,000 initial investment. And who knows what that's turned into since then, right?
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily one to try to take credit for what my clients accomplish with the work they do, but that's just one case study where they were more than happy to share with you, hey, this thing you did for us turned into something amazing. But what's really nuanced there, and what I want to touch on, is the value of, hey, they only had to invest 3 hours of their time, and now they have this amazing thing that continues to repurpose and recycle and scale. And I would love to know, from a sales perspective, to me, I love using that as a sales pitch. Like, listen, you're only going to have to spend a couple hours, and if your time is worth $1,000 an hour, $15,000 an hour, whatever that is, this is really, you're buying time at a discount. And what I'm bringing as a deliverable is like a super duper extra bonus.
Yeah. And I'm saving you like stress and exhaustion and working on something that isn't your, like, my zone of genius helps me shine, like light up and shine that other people's lights brighter. And like, I love that I give my clients the ability to do the work that they want to do. It's, and I don't mean to, like, I've actually been really focused and I'm really working on my own marketing outreach, and I hate it. Like, that's not what I got into this line of work doing. I don't want to be my own marketer. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing when I talk to these sales guys, when I talk to investors, when I talk to founders, like, they don't want to be designing PowerPoints. They want to be doing the work of what their business does. That's why we're here. It's like, that's why I got into what I love doing. I love podcasts. That's a whole different type of marketing aspect. But like, I was just working on my website earlier. I'm like, this is not my thing. And I'm one to raise my hand and say, I need help. And I think as we get into life too, or as we evolve, I mean, post-election, like, how many times have you had to raise your hand and be like, I don't get it. I'm curious. Like, I need help understanding. And I think that's the whole journey of sales. I once heard this beautiful quote that, like, marketing, going back to my marketing stigma, is marketing is a one-to-many conversation. Like, I'm just like giving you stuff to think about, to do. I don't know where you're processing it. I don't know what you're doing with it. I don't know if it's even relevant to you. I don't know if you care. But a sales conversation, a sales presentation is a one-to-one conversation. And when we can create those authentic connections, we create that credibility, we create that trust, we create that accountability, and we create the ability to move business and decisions and actually have conversations that are meaningful and that drive impact and change. But you have to have that authentic emotional connection. It's what we seek as humans, and we can't move business without that. If you remove that, if you take away those stories, it becomes black and white, and you as a data geek are going to get it, but it's boring to people. It's boring to people.
Yeah.
And simply like, some of my tips are like, find a font that resonates with what your topic is. If you're modern, I have a client who is fast edge and moving, and they needed a really sleek, simple font. And it was very interesting. The first round or two of creative that we went through, the slides were great. The content, the strategy behind how we designed it was great. But my client kept being like, it doesn't feel right for me. And then when she like showed me something, I was like, oh, it's this font. Like this font is heavy. It's bold, the way we're using it. That simple change, it created a whole different like feel. And you could go into like some brand or persona, but who you are and what you present and the story you tell, they all should work together. So it's those simple things that really makes such a lasting impact. Yeah.
I mean, you're preaching to the choir. I'm loving every bit of it.
Right.
To me, brand authenticity and really leaning in on that has been a huge part of the messaging. I mean, call the damn leads, for crying out loud. That like it is the most unprofessional thing that anyone could say, and yet at the same time, any professional who's in the business of sales knows like they've all told someone to call the damn leads and probably told themselves at some point, hey man, you need to call the damn leads, bro. Like, what are you doing? And what's cool about marketing in the sense of it is a one-to-many conversation, and what I think is really the greatest sales professionals do well is they've learned to balance a small amount of marketing so that they can get big attention in a public space, and perfected the one-on-one relationship. Because you have to be able to get people to kind of know who you are and be like, yeah, I see them out there a little bit. I kind of like, I get the vibe. I see what they're up to. And then when other people start talking about it, that's when they go, well, I'm in. And a strong marketing persona can make all the difference for a great sales professional, because you don't have to necessarily do it all. As you mentioned, a lot of times we get all strung up in it because we're like, I should know this. Like I could sell myself all day long, but in a one-to-many, it's not the same as a one-to-one conversation. So for me personally, building a sales funnel for myself, one of the hardest things on the planet to do. Any other like company that needs a funnel, I can whip that thing up. Here's a landing page. Here's an offer. It's going to work like gangbusters. But when I start thinking about it for myself, I go, well, I don't know. This doesn't seem right.
Well, actually, I just remembered what I wanted to say earlier. Yes. Sorry, I totally cut you off. But that's what I like forgot earlier. I crossed my fingers. So the idea also is that when you take the time to set up your presentation, when you create this less is more, when you hire somebody like me to help you set up your story a little bit different, you become an outsider versus the person doing it. And it's always harder to be your own critic. So my clients, I don't write content. I'm a content refiner. Like my expertise is in the visual story and elevating that. It's not about creating the content, if that makes sense. I think I want to differentiate, because there's writers and there's storytellers who write the story. I'm a visual storyteller. So, but what I do with my clients is I allow them to kind of not take a back seat, but step outside, so that not only am I saving them time and stress and giving them the ability to focus on the things that they really want to focus on, but now they come to meetings and it's like they're the audience, or they can view it from a different lens because it's not as close to them. And so that combination, that ability for me to kind of be like this secret tool in their toolbox and give them the chance to step outside, not only gives them time to prepare, to think about it differently, right? There's so many benefits of like, we know we think sometimes like head down is going to get us farther, but it's actually like removing ourselves and giving us the space to breathe in a way, right? And so I give my clients are able now to take a different role. It's still their work, but they get to view it from a different angle, and it just adds, like, they don't change things, they enhance it, they elevate it, they simplify, they refine. Again, my client, we're wrapping up her investor pitch. She's a venture capitalist, and she keeps being like, and she keeps tweaking language, and it's very subtle, but that subtleness is actually targeting what that takeaway is even more so, because she doesn't have to get into the to the weeds. She's seen this, she's seen the fruit kind of growing more. And so it's a really cool experience and process. And I love that, again, I get to help my clients see things from a different angle, not only from not being in it and giving them the space, but also to better articulate so that they can also prep what they're going to say, what their voiceover is. Like, I love helping my clients become the conversation conductor. I use the term. So think about like at an orchestra, there's that conductor that stands on stage and he leads this beautiful, harmonious experience for the audience that you feel and you hear and you have all your senses kind of touched upon, because he's telling instruments and sections and, those musicians when to play, how loud, how soft, and how that all comes together. And when the clients I work with can take that step back and they can become the conductor of this conversation because they have the slides and they have their voiceover and they know their audience, they're creating this really beautiful, harmonious experience. And again, you're creating that connection, that more personal ability to have a conversation. And I believe that's the magic of sales. So I don't like, you're the expert on that, but I think that's where it comes from.
No, I mean, what I really hear is this is the quote. It's the same idea, the same process, but the quote I give my clients is, hey, you're too close to the mess to see the message. Mm-hmm. And that's what I know for me happens all the time. Is like, I'm so in the weeds of it that I can't disconnect far enough to see what message it's giving out because I'm so in it. And as you said, it's the ability to pull someone out and disconnect. And Jocko talks about this in one of his trainings. And like from a marketing standpoint, it's the same thing. You're so close, you can't see the message that it's giving across because you're dialed in on this one section at a time. Whereas someone like you, Emily, is able to come in and objectively say like, okay, great. All of this is really, really important, but does it truly give across the message that we're trying to share here with this presentation, with this pitch deck? Because it's the message that's going to get buy-in. The little details and the nuances and all of that, yeah, that plays a part, but it's that genuine emotional feeling that they get at the end of the presentation that says, this is a message I want to be a part of. This is something I can support. This is a movement that I want to be in. And I think that is the beauty of having an expert like you who can come in and bring someone the clarity of like, you're doing it all right. Everything is there. You just can't quite see it because you're so close. So let me help be that disconnect, that barrier. And of course, Emily, your expertise, you're going to bring in some little things that we don't want to admit that we're wrong on, but you're going to help us see that there's a better perspective to go about it. So let's just say there's a small business owner, entrepreneur, someone's listening and they're like, you know what? I've got the 17-page Word doc. I've got all the things. How do they how do they find someone like you? I mean, obviously they can come and find you, but how do they find someone like you? What's the first thing they need to be thinking about in taking that step?
I really think it's just like, for me, I find it's like my clients are like overwhelmed with like, I don't know what to do next, but I know I need a PowerPoint presentation. And so like, okay. I literally get a lot of leads because people are like, I need PowerPoint help. I need a template. I need this deck made. I know what I need to say, but I don't know how to get it out there. And so, I mean, I am one who I've always believed from early on in my career, we're like, I can't be an expert at everything. I can be okay at some things, but to actually own and be an expert at something means you have to have other people as part of your team. Even as a solopreneur, like I have resources, I have teammates that I lean on because I'm not going to write copy. I work with a marketing coach because I'm not expert at so I think as we develop that, and I think that's also the beauty of what I think is like, because I work with more C-suite executives, entrepreneurs, people who are a little bit more established in their career. And so they also identify that like, I don't need to know this, but I know I need somebody who knows it. But I will say one of the most magical things I found as I've niched myself is that people don't even realize that like somebody like me exists. And so when they find me, they're like, thank you. I need you. And it's so many use cases. It's sales decks. It's internal conversations. I mean, I just made a recipe book because it's all about it's still about connections. It's about serving what your audience needs, but bringing it to life. So the gamut runs wide of how you can utilize visual storytelling. You just have to know that you don't know it, and that you need, like for me, and again, I'm very specific in PowerPoint because I love that tool as what it's for, and I love that I can push the boundaries in this platform that people have. And I used to think too, I used to hate it, and now I'm a PowerPoint geek. And so I need PowerPoint help, and I'm trying. And my goal is to get ranked on Google as PowerPoint expert, as PowerPoint freelancer, and get in that first page because people know that word, but they don't know what they need to get there. I hope that answers that question.
I love that, and it's so great because it also helps a sales professional who's out there that's trying to do too much at one time. Again, kind of going back to that whole less is more identity, is like, when you niche down, they say the niches are in the riches for a reason, because the more specialized something becomes, the harder it is to find someone who can truly operate at that level. And that is where a lot of individuals in the sales space could really do themselves a favor, is stop trying to sell 18 different things, pick one thing and be really, really great at selling that. And then all the other stuff becomes ancillary. Just get really great at giving referrals. Hey, that's not a thing that I do, but I know the person who does. Let me introduce you. And that's a part of this that I think is another thing visually that a lot of people can be doing is, hey, I really like the look of that. Or hey, let me tell you about the person who made it. Let me introduce you to so-and-so because you probably need something like that as well. And to me, I think that's an easy way to just make more sales, is ask for referrals and tell people about things like this.
Yes.
That's really what I want to know, because I'm geeking out and nerding about visual stuff and how I don't want to build any of these things, and I probably need to hire someone like you. So what's the best way for me and the audience to come and find you, learn more about your services and how you help people on this visual journey?
Yeah, totally. So my website is a great place to start. I am emilyschneider.com. Hopefully you'll put it in the show notes too to make it super easy. And then I also am super active. I love and engaged and love networking and connecting on LinkedIn. Emily Schneider there, but you could also just search for me as a PowerPoint designer. So it should pop up. So those two spaces are where I'm super active, and I love connecting and helping people. And yes, and making the referrals or being the person that can help add the value that you need to elevate your story. My whole goal is to help my clients really shine brighter in their situations. And I love that my zone of genius helps to illuminate that. So.
Well, and one thing I know is that if an individual is shining brightly in their zone of genius, it's attracting and bringing in more of the clients they want to work with. So if I'm going to hire anybody, it's someone who can help me shine bright like Emily. So I'll make sure we get all those links in the show notes. I'm going to come and find you on LinkedIn. I know the listeners are going to come and check you out, because we've definitely learned a lot today about how to bring that visual aspect to what can be a very data-driven industry. I mean, sales is kind of a black-white, yes-no type thing, but when you can bring that visual aspect and bring another level, the connection, the relationship is totally awesome. So really, Emily, I appreciate you taking some time to spend, to share your wisdom with us today.
Yeah, this was such a fun conversation. Thank you so much for having me, Drewby. I appreciate it. I hope it was insightful.
Absolutely. For sure. This has been great. I learned a lot. I know the listener learned a lot. And all I'm going to ask from here, y'all, is if you enjoyed the episode, share it on social media, tell a friend, tell a coworker, someone that you think could learn something from this, because that's what it's all about. Spreading the message, helping more people learn that there are ways to grow and have fun and be successful in this industry of sales, because it doesn't matter where you come from, what you're selling, what you're doing, there's a way to be successful, there's a way to have fun, and there's probably a couple of good stories to tell. So if you got one, head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your information. Let us know about your story. We'd love to have you on the show. In the meantime, go follow Emily, share this with a friend, and go call those damn leads, y'all. We'll see you on the next one.